Dear poets and writers and friends, it's an honor and a privilege for me to share my humble tribute to the poetic muse. And I would also like to thank Planet Earth Poetry for being kind enough to let me read my poems, and especially the artistic directors, Leanne Boschman and Zoe Dickinson. Maybe she's here or she's busy elsewhere. So I would like to do a bit of an intro or a prologue, you can say, before I read my poems, just to give you a background of what my poems are about. So I resonate with what Bernard Shaw said, that life is no brief candle, it is a sort of splendid torch which I've got hold of for the moment. And I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. So my poems talk about the passage of time, passage of life. However, we need to celebrate what we have, celebrate the moment, celebrate life. So what catches my attention is the gradual progression of life, or what we may call the cycle of life, that is so evident among all living species on this planet. All this remains an enigma, an unsolved mystery that I wanted to pen down in a poetic form. So here goes my, so my, what I begin my book, with a saying by Seneca, the famous Greek philosopher and poet. Part of our time is snatched from us, part is gently subtracted, and part slides insensibly away. And another poet, he prefers to remain anonymous. The rhythm of life is intricate, but orderly, tenacious, but fragile. To keep that in mind is to hold the key to survival. So I shall start reading. So my first poem is And the Music Plays On. Summer takes a silent bow. The last showdown begins. Days shorten, and the sun no longer lingers across the horizon. Nature dances to a different melody, soft and subtle. A strong breeze sweeps across the jaded landscape, and yellow leaves waltz toward the ground, foxtrotting to sink into the limp grass. A gray, furry squirrel scampers away towards a lone cherry tree half shorn of its foliage. Darkness snuffs out the day, and the heavens shed their starry light onto the earth, once vibrant in flaming yellow and gold. How time flies, soaring across days, leading into months and years that roll by while I remain oblivious to everything. It's only when my hair is peppered gray, my skin is a wrinkled parchment, and my bones creak like a rusty hinge of a door, will I realize that time is ticking by, is ticking by. Thank you. I sought you. I tried to find you in the soft hush of the rain. I sought you among the spring burst of daffodils that smiled with their sunny faces towards me. I sought you in the stillness of the evening when the first star twinkled through the twilight haze. I sought you among the myriads of solar systems scattered in the platter of the sky. How could I ever find you in the vast cosmos, where time stands still and life is a mere figment of a dream? I sought you in the stillness of dawn when pale slivers of light steal through the fading darkness. I sought you over the deep blue waters of the swirling seas, over snow-slathered, razor-edged mountain peaks. I sought you over mist-wrapped valleys where the wind sings to the soaring trees. Never did I give up till I found you, hidden inside myself as a stranger. Thank you. Never to meet again. A still summer pond shimmers stars. Cool breeze ripples the water, sets the night in motion, ruffling the jagged line of firs in the horizon. Life passes by, a tiny ripple, a fleeting shadow, a frail petal plucked by the wind, leaving a knobbly pistil behind. That was the moment then. Now it is gone forever. Like strangers we meet on this earth, this town, this house, which is my tiny cottage, become part of family. We eat, sleep, and pray together, celebrate as one life, stitch memories together, stack them one on top of the other, while all the time the cyclic scheme of things, of days fading into nights, of summers slipping into fall, and then into somber winter carries on and on. I was young once, now I'm pot-bellied with a receding brow, glazed eyes, sagging skin, and a wrinkled bag of bones. Solitary, I fly into oblivion, become a fading memory. Thank you. A winter's dream. It is the dead of winter. It is the dead of night. The town in deep slumber. Up above, the mellow moon lies suspended over the somnolent earth. A handful of stars twinkle, the dimpled surface of soft snow slathered like a meringue across our backyard. The air raw and icy. Shadows of willows slip into the abyss of the night. It is quiet, except for the sudden start of the breeze that speaks to the bony trees like a long lost soul in flight. Night drips star over the silky sheen of snow. Wing flutter of a night bird shatters the eerie stillness. I wake up with the start, the noise ripping through my brain like a pistol shot. Semi-awake, I wonder, was this a dream? Maybe, or maybe not. Thank you. Many years have rolled by. Sitting in one corner of the living room is a cushioned chair that no one sits on. It is empty. It will always be empty because it was Dad's chair. His favorite one, evolving over the years from a masterpiece sculpted in black walnut to a musty and faded brown stiff back chair, its armrests padded and sheathed in brown leather, legs carved in floral design. Here, he read the daily newspaper, watched television during wintry nights, browsed over books on space and beyond, saw history come alive through yellowed and frayed pages, pondered as the sun lingered over manicured lawn to gallop across fences. Many years have rolled by, the house has changed shape, new faces added, yet the chair sits there, a tribute, silent, its seat softly contoured in the dying light of the evening, its shadow stretching across the bare white wall. Memories, sweet and nostalgic, come alive, his radiant face, shining eyes, caught in a flash, a moment transfixed by time that slips away. Thank you. Diamonds and rust. Memories lie locked in rusty boxes. I go to a house that was once my home, my haven of love. It lies nestled behind overgrown nettle and furs, cold like a broken heart. I try to unlock frayed pictures of my children chasing butterflies, an intricately embroidered needlework box, now yellow and faded. My favorite embossed Parker pen with an empty cartridge, an outdated cassette player that once played tunes by Harry Belafonte, lies broken, caked with dust, musty with memories saturated with love. They haunt me like ghosts lurking in the dark. I archive them, shut them behind me, and swore this moment, this minute, this second. Thank you. Is there more time, Lian?
Yes, yeah, by all means, read one or two more if you'd like.
Okay, I'll get into poems. Time passes. Buds open their ruby lips. Silky lilies unfurl and sculpt into flowers, unblemished and untouched. Breathtaking. Time passes. Summer winds blow, bright reds and golden yellows fade. Petals fall, twirling to the ground, one by one, gently and slowly, in sync with the movement of the stars and the planets. Only a naked stub remains, ripening into a fruit. We call it a pear, an apple, or a plum. Time passes. I walk the street of the city where I was born. I smell the familiar dewy fresh rose buds, inhale the mountain fresh air, hold my breath. At the cherry tree, its branches heavy with white frilly flowers. It was a mere sapling when I was here last. Oh, look at Jackie's baby girl.
I've lost you.
We seem to have lost Kamal momentarily. I think it's possible. Yeah, she's frozen. Might be a connectivity issue. I'm not sure what happened there. That's never happened before. Do we have Kamal here? Did we lose her? Oh my gosh, that's not good. Okay, let me just see here. Okay, although she's the only person who's not back. I really don't know what happened there. Well, just hopefully she'll come back in. I don't think I have a connectivity problem. I haven't experienced that in the last while or in hosting Zoom gatherings in the last while. Sorry about that. That's really unfortunate. Did everyone else, did you lose the connection completely for a minute and then just kind of come sort of reappear in it?
Yeah.
No, just Kamal froze up for me, I believe.
Yeah, and she was having some problems when she first came in before we started this evening. I don't know if yeah, I hope it's not on my end, especially since I'm hosting, but I haven't experienced that before. Yeah, oh, sorry, Valerie, I can't hear you. Okay.
No, it just seems like her screen froze.
Yeah.
I don't notice that it happened with you or anyone else. Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's reassuring, and it's also reassuring
There
that
she
you're
is.
back, Kamal, and maybe, fingers crossed, if you could just read that last poem that you were in the middle
I
of.
just got so worried. I said, suddenly I've gone off the air now.
I know.
I'm sorry about it, and sorry to the readers. I suppose that's technology.
Yeah, well, let's keep our fingers crossed it won't happen again.
Yeah.
And that if you try, like just picking it up with that the poem you were in the middle of reading when it happened, we can fingers
And
crossed.
could everybody mute themselves too, please?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I think um, I should read where I was. Yeah, so I think I'll read this poem, which is based on the title of the book, What Does the Wind Say? What does the wind say? A breeze rustles outside my window. What does it say? It whispers about hazy summers when my mother would go for a long walk with me, with the sun lingering over distant fields as we laughed and chatted, till it was time to return home before skeins of twilight stretched across the sky and shadows galloped across lonely meadows. Does this remind me of the lingering aroma of lavender that was my mother's? Does the rustle of the poplar leaves, the wing flutter of the chickadees flying homewards, make me run home for supper? Now, when the breeze stirs, I look up at the deep blue sky and ask, Mother, where have you gone? Won't you ever come back home? There is no answer. Summer gives way to fall. The wind turns cooler, picks up speed, numbs the cheek, and freezes the bone. Nature turns naked. It begins to snow, and I'm sucked into its deep silence, looking for answers that never come, never come. Thank you very much. And I apologize again for this, for the Zoom glitch and whatever. My sincere apologies.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much, Kamal. Thank you for that beautiful reading. There may be some questions or responses. We'll just take a minute to catch our breath. I think we were all alarmed when you vanished.
Yeah, even I was just,
but it's okay.
I
It's
was
what
dumbstruck, you know, to say the least.
So I'm just thinking about just how your poems seem to me so kind of they're about reflection and there's sometimes a very kind of sweet note of nostalgia and you know thoughts about the past and sort of revisiting you know some like in your poem about returning to the house and I love that detail about the Harry Belafonte records because I think that is something that anchors us to the past, right? Is
Yes,
those
yes,
tunes that we were spinning on
that's
and so I just wonder so I'm curious what your process is for the for when a poem comes to you. Is it because like it's a memory? Is it anchored in a specific, does something jog your memory? You know, to remember the past and then to write about it. I'm just curious what that would look like for you as you start to write a poem.
yes. Well, you know, my poems vary. You know, I'm deeply in love with nature, so you know, I think nature speaks to everyone, and it also speaks to me in a language which I try my best to interpret in my own way. But nature inspires me the most. It's not always that I write about the past, but
Mhm.
somehow, you know, it just carries me sometimes past,
Mhm.
present, and also future. You know, one of my books is Still Waters, which is about, you know, about the past and also a bit about the future, that what happens later on. Yeah, so, and also poems for me are more of a healing tool. You know,
Mhm.
they are like uh, two sides of a coin. It reflects the voice of the soul, and it's some sort of a, it's a way of self-discovery. It's a way into your consciousness. It reveals who you are, and it also makes the other person stand still in this hectic, stress-based, the more we say, the less it is this society or life that we are living. Having said that, poetry is a big healing tool. So my poems are also an effort towards
Mhm.
healing the mind, and we need it really now in these times.
Oh my gosh, that's for certain. I'm just wondering if anyone in the audience has a question, comment. There's some comments in the chat, and I'll save the chat for you and for Jude. Is there anything anyone wanted to say right now?
This is Shonda. I wanted to say what a beautiful reading that was. Yeah, it really, the images that you painted really moved me. And I was wondering also, where can we get that book? Because I would love to read them myself again.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's available in Nanaimo, but I can certainly mail it to you. It's also in the Bolin books. I think it's still there in Victoria, Window Seat Books, Literary Central Vancouver Island in Nanaimo. And in, I think, Volume 1 also carries it. Used to carry it unless they've been sold out. And Mobius Books in Port Alberni in Chapters here in Nanaimo. But I can
Okay, well, I'm in Victoria, so if it's at
But,
Bolin Books, then I can get it there.
yeah, but in case they don't have it, is sold out, I can certainly mail it to you. That's no issue. If you could send me your email, through Planet Earth Poetry or through Neale.
Sure. Should I just put it in the chat right now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then we can communicate? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was
for your
very
time.
beautiful.
You inspire me.
Okay. All right. If there are no more comments right at this moment, because we can also come back to more comments for both of the poets later on in the evening, I will now introduce Jude Neale, and it's my pleasure to welcome you, Jude. And I just want to tell you that Jude Neale is a Canadian poet, mentor, educator, opera singer, and spoken word performer. She publishes frequently in print and online journals, including the Antigonish Review, Ascent, Aspirations, Quill, and Leaf Press. And tonight is really going to be a unique evening in terms of Jude's poetry, because Jude is reading to us tonight from her book entitled Inside the Pearl. And I can show you right there the cover. Jude did a residency at Joy Kogawa House, which is that wonderful institution now that had been the home of the dear Canadian author Joy Kogawa. And we all know that there's such an interesting history that is associated with Joy Kogawa's house, and the history of the Japanese Canadians during the Second World War, and their internment and the struggle for justice. And I think that Jude's time there resulted in a really, really fascinating book and an approach to writing that involves a lot of visual cues based on photographs that were taken of artifacts and parts of Joy Kogawa House itself. And tonight, Jude's going to share some of those images with you and read the corresponding haiku poems. So to me, this is really, very touching. I read Joy Kogawa's book, the wonderful book that she wrote based on the Japanese experience during the Second World War, Japanese Canadians, Obasan. I think of it as a Canadian classic, and it deeply moved me. I was just barely starting university, and I've had a chance to be at Joy Kogawa House a couple times now and meet Joy Kogawa. And I just, so I connect deeply with this work, and Jude has asked me to read just a few sentences from her foreword before she starts her presentation. So should I just go ahead with that now, Jude?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the poems Jude shares here add to the story of the house and are a particular gift in support of our author residencies. So this is the foreword from Anne Marie Matten, the executive director of the house. These poems reveal intense personal emotion about the house and the past it represents. In clear and precise words, Jude confronts and contains the lingering legacies of this country's national history, the internment of Japanese Canadians that author Joy Kagawa experienced as a child and then shared in her novels, poems, a memoir, and now an immersive app titled East of the Rockies with the National Film Board of Canada, all of which document her memory of this place. As a national place of memory, historic Joy Kagawa House remembers the past along with unnamed yet powerfully felt absences, displacements, removals, loss. The heritage and cultural site serves as an eyewitness to history and traces stories from another time. We hope that by visiting this place and others like it, we can experience and perhaps work through contradictory emotions associated with past wrongs, including fear, anger, guilt, shame, longing, and unease.
Thank you.
Oh, welcome. Welcome, Jude.
So I'm going to read from part of the preface of my book because it makes the book more accessible to you, I think. And this is it. I'm going to read. This book, Inside the Pearl, was created inside the space Joy loved. And the poems rose out of my propensity for intense scrutiny and rampant curiosity. I took hundreds of pictures and wrote close to 60 haiku-inspired imagistic poems. During my time there, I decided to document it inside and out. I was an archaeologist of the half-remembered. I pulled things out of drawers, looked in corners, even open suitcases. To my wonder and disbelief, I had unearthed a representation of the few things the family had taken to the Socan. A precious blanket, beloved doll dresses, worn books, a toy car. I felt like I was gifted with insight into the extraordinary times that Joy Kagawa lived. That picture became the backbone of this book, which is why I chose it for the cover. It spoke of displacement and loss and endings. I hope that both my written images and Paul Huson's photographs in this volume shine a light on the many small things that make a home. My gratitude to Joy Kagawa for creating a bridge to truth for all people through exceptional writing and quiet strength, which I think we all have to be doing as writers right now, dealing with the Ukraine too. We have to write down the truth. And so this book seeks truth, and I will begin.
Oh, she's got it. She has to do screen sharing. She has to open screen sharing.
Leanne, you have to open screen sharing.
Okay, I did. I can see it at the bottom of my
I got
screen.
it. We got it.
Okay, got it. And I've got the settings for you, so you
We
can.
got it.
Got it. Good. Okay, so you might just, yeah, to start slide, yeah, from the, yeah, there we go. Perfect.
That cover that I wanted to show you was the things that Joy Kagawa took with her mother, her brother, and her father took with her to the Spokane. And when Joy saw these objects, some she hadn't seen in so many years, she was overjoyed, particularly the doll dresses and her brother Tim's little car. And there's a blanket in there that her mother used in the Spokane on her cot, which had been her mother's. So it was quite a historical find to open up the suitcase and find this. And these are pictures of Joy at the Spokane in the internment camp in her career. And now, as she's living in Toronto, still writing, dedicated to those who face injustice with courage and integrity. And I remember how careful my parents were not to bruise us with bitterness. Joy Kagawa. Welcome, Matt, in the sun. Joy Kagawa House whispers stories that light can reveal. Morning shimmers, dust floats above the snowy bed. Rhododendron petals on the sidewalk, paw prints vanish. Children stand with mother, sunflowers opening. Girl smiles, reminder of softer days, secret joy. Nisei children balance bowls of rice, chopsticks chirp.
Oops.
Her head beneath petals in shadow dawn, quiet grace. Piano notes drift across the room, filtered summer light. Creamy runner vines the table, evening cool. Brass shaving kit. He scrapes his face smooth as paper. "1942 fear spreads sticky tar. Faces break. Green keyed typewriter. Wrote of loss, betrayal, cold autumn breeze. summer heat, a purple fan lifts her hair. You pick out bones from iridescent salmon. Oil drips. Swoops of laughter pour over quiet voices. Bell song fills corners. Love hangs in windows. On the street, a child points. Suitcases wait, packed for a lifetime. Time passes. War bonds exclude legitimate citizens. Spent ash. Displacement. Ink marks her fingers as she writes. Yellow chopsticks lift a grain of rice. Small victories. Trains pull them away from grief. Collective Canadian yawn. A loud patriotism waves in streets, never silent. Afternoon silence, pots filled with dusty webs, ache for cool water. Hot oil sighs after lunch. Family matters. Cupped by wind, she flies overhead, floating. Check the mirror. Treacle skin, black hair. Injustice bleeds. Rows of children captured in a photo. Stilled butterflies. Water pitcher remembers silver. Sprinkle of rain. State of mind. A writer's soft bed. Castles of clay. Thank you very much.
That was very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jude. I'm sure there must be comments and responses. We just give everyone a minute to catch their breath here. But just a practical point, how long was your residency at Joy Kagawa House?
A month.
Mm.
And I wrote what I thought were haiku in 3 days, thinking that a haiku was 575 until I found out from a haiku expert that it wasn't 575, and what I've been taught my whole life was wrong. So I spent the next 6 months researching what a haiku was through Britain and the States and all sorts of experts, including Jacqueline Pierce, who really guided me in this direction. And it's what 3 people that read my manuscript said. 2 of them said, these are haikus. You wrote haikus. These are real. And 1 said they're not. And because of that, I have said these are haiku inspired imagistic poems.
Good for you. They were beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely. There's also that beautiful on the cover that what Joy Kagawa says about them. That I think that is marvelous. Can you read that, Jude, from the cover of your book?
I can. I asked for a blurb from Joy, and she amazingly said yes. So what she said is very beautiful, and is this: what a delicate, beautiful tone, a light bell sound, wonder, grace.
Beautiful.
And that March the 16th marked the 80th anniversary of the internment in Canada.
Oh my.
Yeah. 22,000 Japanese Canadians were interned during the war.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hi, Jude.
Hi.
I met Joy twice,
Yes.
but I must tell you, as I was listening to your haiku and looking at the images, I was overwhelmed. It brought her, the time I've spent with her, half an hour here or there, and at one time I even read with her. Another time I met her in the Vancouver Public Library, where she said, I said, how did she feel coming back to Vancouver? And she was very emotional. She says, I don't know what to make of it.
No.
One day they kicked me out, and other day they gave me the key for the city.
Yes.
Wow.
Very, very powerful. Very powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
She said it was the most beautiful home she ever lived in her whole life.
It is nice, beautiful, very
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was overwhelmed. The way you read it and the images just completely moved. Joy kept coming in front of my face again and again and again. And very powerful. Thank you for
I'm
sharing.
so honored, Ashok. Thank you.
I particularly like was struck by the picture of the children in the lines and your little 2 words, stilled butterflies. That was just so powerful. Just think of all those little children not able to be themselves.
No.
Yeah.
No.
During
Thank
that
you.
time, Yeah, that was, it was summertime, and my mother at that time when internment was happening or began, it was summertime, and a lot of these Japanese people were also market gardeners out in the Fraser Valley. And my mother was a grade 12 or student at Kitsurano High School.
Never went there.
They were taken every morning very, very early before this heat of the day. And they had to be at the school, and then they had to go out by bus and then pick the strawberry crop.
Wow.
These farmers, it was, and mother talked about that, her life. She always would recount this. So it really, really struck her. And she was a who all of her life was very much against the separation of people in any way, shape, or form. She said the work was the hardest work she'd ever done physically. They'd even lie between the rows picking them because it was such hard work. But, you know, I mean, that's a little thing, but in different ways, this internment had a huge impact on people. And I think that with our growing up in New Zealand, because my mother ended up in New Zealand, I remember her really, really drilling it into us that the Maori people, anybody that we were coming, that we interacted with, part of, they were just people. They were just as they were just to, it was really, really against discrimination, and
Yes.
Wonderful.
it's really, really
Wonderful.
stuck with me. But I think that hopefully there is a generation of people now. My mother has since died, but within that group, oh darn, my alarm is ringing. I hope that people like my mother from that time, who were then impacted in their spirits and in their hearts, have been able to transmit that in some form.
Well, she did to you.
Yes, she did. Yeah, and I, well, we have
And you carry it forward.
well, we have 4 First Nations children who came to us by various means, and
Wow.
it's a long story too. But yes, so that, you know, and yeah, so yeah, that's part of our life.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your beautiful poems, your haiku. I love haiku. I've got books and books of haiku.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it.
Mhm.